The moment he dropped to his knees on my living room rug, hands resting on my thighs, eyes locked on mine like he finally couldn't keep it inside anymore. I knew nothing between us would ever be the same again. And maybe the scariest part, I didn't want it to be. His name was Brandon. He lived 2 doors down from me for the past 3 years. Married, friendly, the kind of guy who waved when he mowed the lawn, shirtless on Saturdays, and always brought an extra 6-pack when there was a game on. We'd become friends the way neighbors often do. Casual at first, then suddenly too comfortable, like we'd known each other longer than we actually had. Hey, if you're here and feeling the vibe already, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe to support these stories and help more people find them. It means the world, and it keeps us going. Thanks for being here. We were both in our early 30s. I was single, no pets, no kids, just working from home and keeping mostly to myself. Brandon was the opposite, busy life, wife always traveling for work, 2 golden retrievers, a driveway that always looked like it had just been power washed. He'd knocked on my door more than a dozen times in the last 2 years, sometimes to borrow tools, sometimes to invite me to a barbecue, sometimes just to vent about the house, the job, the stress. And I always let him in, not because I was being polite, but because I liked seeing him. I liked the way he looked when he laughed. I liked how he sat too close on the couch when we watched sports. I liked how he always rested a hand on my shoulder, like it meant nothing and everything. But I never thought he saw it. Not really. Not until tonight. It started with a simple knock. "Hey," he said, standing in the doorway wearing a faded black hoodie and old gym shorts. "Can I ask a weird favor?" I raised an eyebrow. "Is it about the dogs again?" He laughed, stepping inside before I even answered. "No, not this time, just... Can I hang out here for a bit? I don't feel like being alone." I let him in, like I always did. He dropped onto my couch like it was his own and cracked open a soda from my fridge like it was routine. And maybe it was. I didn't mind. I liked it more than I'd ever admit. We watched some show neither of us really paid attention to. His leg brushed mine once, then again. He didn't move away. Neither did I. After a while, I finally asked, "Everything okay?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said something that made my chest tighten. "She's gone for the whole week this time." "Your wife?" I asked, though I already knew. He nodded. "She's in Denver. Conference or something. I don't know. We barely talk when she's away." There was something about the way he said it. Flat, distant, like he wasn't sad so much as tired of pretending to be. I turned the volume down. "You okay?" I asked again. Brandon looked at me for a long moment, and when he spoke next, it wasn't about his marriage. "Do you ever feel like you've been lying to yourself for so long, you stop even noticing it?" The air in the room changed. I sat up slightly. "What are you lying to yourself about?" He didn't answer, not with words. He leaned forward like he was going to say something, then stopped. His eyes dropped to my mouth, then back up to my eyes. My heart was pounding. "Brandon," I whispered, and that's when he got off the couch. Not to leave, but to kneel on the rug right in front of me. His hands found my thighs, slow and steady, fingers curling against the fabric of my sweatpants like he needed to hold on to something solid. "I'm not drunk," he said. "I'm not confused." "Then what are you?" He looked up at me, and in that moment I saw it all. 2 years of glances, 2 years of almosts. 2 years of wanting something he couldn't name until tonight. I'm done pretending, he said. And then, very slowly, his hands slid up from my knees and he leaned in. And I didn't stop him. His lips hovered just above my stomach, close enough for me to feel the heat of his breath, but he didn't rush. His hands rested on my thighs, thumbs brushing back and forth slowly, testing, asking, almost waiting for permission without needing to say a word. I didn't move, not because I was unsure, but because something about the way he looked at me made everything else disappear. "Are you okay?" I asked, even though my voice wasn't steady. Brandon looked up at me from the rug, eyes glassy, full of tension and heat and something deeper I hadn't seen in him before. "I've wanted this for a long time," he said quietly. "I just never thought I'd actually let myself say it out loud." I reached down, brushing his hair back gently, letting my fingers trail down to the side of his face. "You don't have to say anything else," I whispered. "You already said it." He smiled, small, nervous, but real, and then he leaned in, pressing a soft kiss just above my waistband, slow and trembling, like he was memorizing the moment. Everything in the room felt thick with silence, but not the bad kind, the kind that makes your skin buzz, the kind that says, "You're not going back after this." He rose slowly to his feet, his hands never leaving my body. His chest was just inches from mine now, his breathing shallow. When I stood up too, we were face to face, close enough that I could feel the way his heartbeat synced with mine. And then he kissed me. It was slow at first, almost careful, like he wasn't sure I'd kiss him back. But when I did, when I leaned in harder, when my hand slid around the back of his neck and pulled him closer, everything inside him shifted. He pressed into me, mouth opening slightly, hands gripping my waist with purpose now, like he'd stopped holding back. His body was warm, solid, familiar, and entirely new, all at once. I could smell the faint hint of whatever cologne he always wore, clean, woodsy, and now tangled forever in my memory. "You sure you're okay with this?" I asked between breaths, even though we were already halfway to something we couldn't undo. "I've never been more sure," he said, his voice lower than I'd ever heard it. He kissed me again, harder this time, and we stumbled backward onto the couch. I pulled him down with me and he laughed quietly into my mouth, like he was finally letting go of something that had been wrapped around his chest for too long. We lay there, tangled up, kissing like the air between us had been holding secrets for years. His hand slid under my shirt, slow, warm, deliberate, and rested on my chest. My fingers traced his jaw, his shoulder, the curve of his spine. We weren't in a hurry. We didn't need to be. It wasn't about the act. It was about the build. The way his forehead rested against mine after each kiss. The way his thumb brushed circles across my ribs. The way he whispered, "This doesn't feel wrong, not even a little." And then came the pause. The one that always comes when your brain finally catches up to what your body already knows. Brandon sat up slightly, his eyes searching mine. "I'm scared of what this means," he said, "but I'm more scared of never doing it again." I pulled him back down, kissed his jaw, and whispered, "Then don't stop." And he didn't. Not for a long time. When he finally lay next to me on the couch, shirtless and breathless, his fingers resting lightly over my chest. I realized something that sent a chill through my entire body. This wasn't just release, it was relief. Not just mine, his. Brandon hadn't just crossed a line tonight. He had jumped it. And now he was staring up at the ceiling like he didn't know what came next. I turned toward him, brushing my fingers along the side of his neck. His skin was still warm, his heart still pounding beneath my hand. "You okay?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer was complicated. He didn't look at me right away. "I feel like I just stepped out of a life I wasn't even living," he said softly. "And now I don't know what to do with that." I nodded slowly, letting the silence stretch. "You don't have to figure it all out tonight," I said. He finally looked at me, his eyes softer than I'd ever seen them. "But I want to. Because this..." He touched my arm, then slid his hand to my waist. "This feels like something I should have been reaching for a long time ago." I leaned in, kissed his shoulder, and whispered, "Then maybe this was always going to happen. We just didn't know when." That made him smile. Small, but it stayed. We lay there for a while, half-dressed, tangled together under a blanket, his fingers tracing patterns on my skin like he couldn't stop touching me. I could feel how much he needed this. Not just the physical closeness, but the safety, the permission to be soft, to be real. He kissed me again. Slower now, lazier, more affectionate than desperate. But just when I thought the night was settling into something calm and warm, he pulled back and asked, "Can I tell you something kind of awful?" I looked at him, heartbeat ticking up. "Of course." He stared at the ceiling again. I used to picture this, like full-on fantasize about it, even when I didn't want to admit what it meant. "You mean us?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah. You, this place, that first time I asked for help setting up the grill 2 summers ago, I was already thinking about you then. That hit me harder than I expected. You never showed it." "I couldn't," he said. "Not with her still here, not with how many people I'd have to lie to just to admit it." He looked over at me again, more serious now. "I'm not saying I regret being married," he added. "But if I had met you first..." I pressed my fingers to his lips, stopping him gently. "Don't go there," I whispered. "We're here now." He kissed my fingertips. And for the first time, I saw him truly relax. He lay his head on my chest, like he'd done it 100 times before, and I wrapped my arm around him like I'd always been meant to. We didn't talk much after that, just held each other in the quiet of a night that had rewritten everything. But as he drifted off, his breathing slowing against my skin, I stared into the dark and felt something creeping in that I hadn't expected. What happens when she comes home? Because this didn't feel like a secret. This felt like the beginning of something neither of us were ready to name, but couldn't walk away from anymore. I expected the morning after to feel like a mistake. I expected him to wake up with guilt in his eyes, to grab his shirt off the floor, mumble something about how it shouldn't have happened, and walk out the front door with a forced smile. But that's not what happened. When I opened my eyes, he was already awake, sitting at the edge of the couch, shirt back on, coffee in one hand, staring out the window like he was watching something far off in the distance. He turned when he heard me move. "Hey," he said, his voice quiet but not cold. "Hey," I replied, sitting up slowly. "You okay?" He didn't answer at first, just set the coffee down, walked over, and leaned down to kiss me. It wasn't hungry, it wasn't confused, it was real. Soft lips, slow pressure, his hand on my cheek, thumb brushing lightly across my skin. When he pulled back, he rested his forehead against mine and whispered, "That didn't feel wrong, not even for a second." My chest tightened with something warm and terrifying all at once. "I didn't think you'd still be here," I admitted. "I didn't want to be anywhere else." But just as we started to relax into that moment, just as I was about to ask if he wanted to stay for breakfast or maybe even the rest of the weekend, his phone buzzed on the coffee table. 3 times. Then again. He didn't reach for it, but I saw the name flash across the screen. Melanie, wife. He noticed me looking, didn't try to hide it. "She's flying back early," he said. "Storm in Denver. Her meeting got canceled." The silence between us swelled like a wave. "When?" I asked. "Tonight." The air shifted. Suddenly everything that felt so open, so easy, just minutes ago now felt complicated, temporary, fragile. Brandon sat down beside me, hands rubbing his thighs anxiously. "I don't want this to end just because she's back." I looked at him. "Then what do you want it to be?" He hesitated. "I don't know," he said. "But I know I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen. I don't want to erase this. You. Us." That should have made me feel better, but it didn't. Not entirely. "Are you going to tell her?" I asked. His eyes flicked to mine, and the answer was written all over his face. "Not yet." "I need time," he said, "to figure out how to do this the right way." I nodded slowly. "I get it. But if I'm going to be the thing in the middle, I can't do that forever." His hand found mine, fingers lacing. "I don't want you in the middle. I want you with me. And I'll get there. I swear." I squeezed his hand, trying to ignore the sinking feeling in my stomach. Because as much as I wanted to believe him, as much as I felt everything between us was real, I also knew something he hadn't said yet. He had a life, a house, a wife, and tonight she was walking back through his door. He stood at the door for a long time, hoodie back on, keys in one hand, his wedding ring back on the other. Neither of us said anything at first. His duffel bag sat near the couch, half zipped, his shoes untied, like even his body didn't know whether it was coming or going. "You don't have to go," I said quietly, even though I knew he did. Brandon turned to me, his eyes already softer than they should have been. "I do. I can't not be there when she walks in." I nodded. "Because that's still your home." He hesitated, then walked back over to me. He stood between my knees, hands on my shoulders, his gaze heavy with something that wasn't quite regret, but wasn't peace either. "You know what the worst part is?" he said. "This feels more like home than anything I've had in years." I wanted to pull him in. I wanted to beg him to stay. But instead, I reached up, ran my hand slowly down his chest and whispered, "Then do something about it." He leaned down and kissed me again. Slow, deep, lingering like a promise he wasn't ready to break. Then he whispered, "Give me a few days. I need to talk to her. I need to do this the right way. Then I'll come back." I searched his eyes. "You swear?" He nodded. I've never been more sure. And then he walked out, not like a man leaving a mistake behind, but like a man stepping back into a lie so he could untangle it. I stood at the window after he left, watching him walk the short distance back to his house. I saw the porch light flip on. I saw his front door swing open. I couldn't see her face, but I saw the shape of it, framed in the light as she stepped aside to let him in. Then the door closed, and I was alone. The next 3 days felt like weeks. He didn't text, he didn't call, and I didn't reach out. Not because I didn't want to, but because I needed him to make the next move. I had given him my trust. Now I needed him to honor it. Every time I passed his house, I slowed down. I noticed the porch light was always on. His car didn't move. Her car was back too. From the outside, it looked normal again. Too normal. Like none of it had happened. By day 4, I started to doubt. By day 5, I hated myself for hoping. But on day 6, just after 9 p.m., there was a knock on my door. And when I opened it, he was standing there in a plain black t-shirt, jeans, no ring, no smile, just tired eyes and something in his hands. It was the set of keys to his house. Without speaking, he reached for my hand, placed them in my palm, and said, "I moved out." I stared at him, breath caught in my throat. "She didn't yell, she didn't cry," he said. "She just looked at me and said she knew that I hadn't been happy in a long time, that she'd seen it in my eyes, and that I owed it to myself to stop pretending." I couldn't believe it. "You told her about us?" "I told her the truth," he said. "Every part of it." I felt my knees go weak. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him, and whispered, "Now I just want to be where I should have been all along." Then he kissed me. And this time it didn't feel like a secret. It felt like a beginning. Brandon didn't ask if he could stay that night. He walked in, dropped the small overnight bag at the door, and took off his shoes like he'd already done it 100 times before. And maybe, in some ways, he had. Maybe he'd been stepping into this life slowly over the past 2 years, without even realizing. But this time was different. This time, when he kissed me in the kitchen, it wasn't soft. It was full of something else, something deeper, like all the fear had finally burned off, and now only want remained. Want, not for a night, not for a favor, but for us. He pulled away just enough to breathe and rested his forehead against mine. "Is this okay?" he asked. "You're here," I whispered, hands on his waist. "Of course it's okay." We didn't go to the bedroom right away. We stood there for a while, just holding each other, touching each other's backs, hips, hair, faces, like we were learning everything from the beginning now, that nothing stood in our way. Later, when we finally made it to the bedroom, it wasn't urgent. It was slow, focused. He undressed me piece by piece, kissing every inch of skin he uncovered. His lips moved across my collarbone, down my chest, across my stomach. His hands moved along my arms, my thighs, my back. He whispered things while he touched me. "You feel like home." I didn't know how bad I needed this. "You don't know what you've done to me." It wasn't just foreplay. It was a confession. We lay there afterward, tangled together, his head on my chest, his fingers tracing slow patterns over my ribs. "Do you think I'm selfish?" he asked quietly. I ran my hand through his hair. "Why?" "Because I spent 2 years pretending I didn't feel anything for you. And now I'm just here, like I'm entitled to start over. I pulled his face up so I could look at him. "You're not selfish," I said. "You're human. You didn't use me, you came back. That's what matters." He kissed me again. Slow, soft, thankful. But the truth hung in the back of the room like a shadow. We weren't out, not to the neighborhood, not to our friends, not to anyone else. And Brandon still had boxes to pick up, a reputation to navigate, and a past that didn't just disappear with one conversation. Still, I didn't ask for a plan. Not yet. I just let him fall asleep beside me, wrapped around me, finally his. The next morning we made breakfast together, barefoot, sleepy-eyed, laughing as he burned the toast and I spilled coffee on his shirt. It felt like something we weren't supposed to have, but we had it anyway, until he froze at the window. I followed his eyes. Out on the sidewalk was Melanie, his wife, standing alone, looking at our house, and then she smiled. Just once, not bitter, not broken, just like she knew. And somehow it was the kindest thing I'd ever seen. There was a knock, not frantic, not angry, just steady. I froze in the kitchen, still holding the mug Brandon had just handed me, the heat suddenly forgotten against my palm. He stiffened beside me, his bare feet shuffling back instinctively, like he expected the floor to swallow him. But the knock came again, this time soft. And then a voice. "Hey, it's Melanie." He turned to me with wide eyes. "She's here." "I know," I whispered. "She didn't knock on your door." We both stared at the front door like it might explode. Then I walked over and opened it. She stood there in jeans and a long cardigan, a soft expression on her face, her hands loosely wrapped around a coffee cup of her own. No makeup, no bitterness. Just a woman who looked like she had already cried her tears somewhere else and had come here for something different. "Can I come in for a second?" she asked. I nodded and stepped aside. Brandon didn't say a word. He stood just outside the kitchen, shirt wrinkled from sleep, hair a mess, expression completely unreadable. Melanie looked at him, then back at me. "I'm not here to fight," she said, "or to ask for him back. That's not why I came." I stayed quiet. She took a breath. "I just wanted to say thank you." That threw me. "For what?" "For giving him something I couldn't," she said simply. "And for not making him feel ashamed for finally wanting it." Brandon stepped forward. "Mel," she held up a hand. "You don't owe me anything else, Brandon. We had years together, some good, some not. I knew something was off for a long time. I just didn't have the words for it. Now I do." She turned to me again. "I know how this looks from the outside, but from the inside, it's peace. You're giving him something he never felt with me. I see it in the way he looks at you. I saw it the first time he said your name like it meant something." I swallowed hard. "I never wanted to hurt you." "You didn't," she said. "We just didn't fit. And I think maybe he always knew." There was nothing dramatic. No slammed doors, no breakdown. Just a woman choosing grace where pain could have lived instead. Before she left, she reached into her bag and handed Brandon something. His wedding ring. "I don't want to keep it," she said softly. "But I don't want it in a drawer either. Do whatever you want with it." And then she was gone. Brandon stared at the ring in his palm for a long time. Then he turned, walked to the sink, and dropped it inside, like closing the last chapter of a book he'd been stuck inside for too long. He looked at me, breath shaky, and then he said something I never thought I'd hear. "I'm ready to stop surviving. I'm ready to start living with you." Brandon didn't go back to his house after that. Not to grab a few things, not to check on the dogs, not to clear his head. He just stayed. And for the first time, it wasn't weird or temporary or something we had to justify with excuses. It was just normal. He fell into my space like he'd always been meant to fit there. His keys joined mine in the bowl by the door. His toothbrush sat beside mine like it belonged. His hoodie draped across my couch in the same spot he used to sit when we were just two neighbors, killing time. Only now, when he kissed me from behind while I made coffee, or pulled me into his lap while we watched late-night reruns, it didn't feel like we were borrowing the moment. It felt like we owned it. One night, a few weeks later, we were out back, sitting on folding chairs, watching the porch lights blink on along the street. The neighborhood looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. Not anymore. "I used to stare at your window," he said quietly, "wondering what it would feel like to walk through your door and never have to leave." I smiled and leaned into his shoulder. "And now you're here." He nodded. "Yeah, I am." Then he added, "Do you think they know?" I looked toward the other houses, familiar porches, quiet windows, friendly faces that used to greet him with waves when he was still her husband, still the guy with the grill and the good lawn and the dog that barked at nothing. "I think they know something's different," I said, "but I also think they're waiting to see if you're going to hide or stand still." He turned toward me, slid his fingers into mine, and said, "Then let's stand still." The next day, we went for a walk together. Not in hoodies, not separately like we had for years, but together, side by side, laughing, shoulder brushing shoulder. And when one of the older neighbors across the street waved and said, "You two look good together," Brandon didn't flinch. He just smiled and said, "Thanks. Feels right." Later that night, back in bed, tangled up beneath the sheets, he whispered something against the back of my neck. "I didn't just fall for you. I found myself through you." I turned toward him, kissed him slow, deep, like I was anchoring him into place. "You were always there," I whispered. "You just needed somewhere safe to land." And that's what we became. Not just lovers, not just something that happened while she was away. We became home.